Hey Gearfax friends, welcome back. Today we're looking at another key lighting keyboard from Casio. This one's the LK-35. I'm going to start off with a bit of a different vibe with this particular video because, you see, I've reviewed so many lighting keyboards now and I'm starting to discover that they all have the same sound engine, or at least extremely similar. And this keyboard brings out a few things that kind of annoy me and disappoint me. And I think it's a classic case of oversaturating the market. Before I even switch this keyboard on, just looking at it irritated me in a couple of ways. First of all, these massive speaker circles here. It's clear and very obvious by looking closely at the dots that there's actually only a tiny speaker there. So straight away, that's kind of an attempt to deceive the market by Casio. Not cool. The second thing that bothered me was that these little circles here are meant, or I suspect are meant to look like touch buttons, so you can change modes and not the classic buttons like these. But they're just lights, so this is all unnecessary design here. So we're changing through, you can see the light changing there. It's completely unnecessary and just a marketing gimmick really. Third thing that bothered me was that there's no volume dial. It's volume up and down with switches, and maybe that's just a bugbear for me personally, but I find it very irritating when you switch a keyboard on and it's by default on maximum volume or very close. If you turn it down to a volume of 1, it's still reasonably loud. I think it's clear that a dial is a much better way to go. And the final thing that kind of gets to me is that by looking at these sounds here, I can immediately recognize that we're going to hear all the exact same sounds that we've heard in Casio's other LK series keyboards. And that is a bit of a shame. Having said all that and made all of those criticisms, if you were looking at this keyboard for the first time and you were thinking of learning, I think you'd find it quite impressive and interesting, because obviously it has the key lights. There we are, don't know how well you can see them. And it does have good sounds. I know it's the same sounds as all the other LK series, but it's not a bad set. It's fairly entertaining, definitely not even approaching professional, but there's some good stuff in there. Reasonable piano sounds, reasonable organ sounds, and lots of sound effects that'll make you smile. And features like that can be a good bit of relief for people who are learning and just want to sit back and have a little bit of fun with their keyboard for a while before getting back into the serious stuff. It has the same 3-step lessons as all the other LK keyboards. It has the same 100-song bank as most of the other LK keyboards, and a separate set of 100 rhythms. Anyway, despite that feeling that I'm covering old ground yet again, I am going to demonstrate this keyboard properly by turning the volume up a little bit and listening to the mediocre piano sound. It's a very boxy, amateurish kind of sound. But as we know, these keyboards are directed towards learners, and they won't be that discriminating about the quality of the sound. They just want to get in and learn some tunes. So let's go through some of the other tones, which is done by pressing the tone button. Oh, and I forgot another thing that irritates me. No plus and minus button on the keypad. You have to dial in the number of every patch that you want. Very annoying. There's really no reason why a keyboard at this level shouldn't have a plus-minus key, so you can quickly shoot through the tones and test them all out before deciding which one you want to play with. Anyway, we're on 0-0 piano by default. 0-1 is a slightly bigger piano. And so you can see by me typing in these numbers here how long it would take me to demonstrate the whole thing to you. I have to say that's a reasonably warm organ sound. And that isn't. We have the requisite string sounds. Brass sounds. Some kind of interesting pipe sounds. Uninteresting time-honored synth sounds. layered sounds that'll fatten up the overall sound a little bit. And some split keyboard sounds, so you'll get some bass down here and piano up here, or a different pair of instruments such as strings and trumpet. And over to rhythm mode, I'll choose one at random, and we can start here and do fill-ins. By switching to Casio chord on the main switch here, we can start a rhythm and have some accompaniment as well. And we have the all-important 3-step lesson system. So it's waiting for me to play the first note there. Even though this is a famous song, I've got to say I'm not really familiar with that tune and I don't like it. But anyway, the idea is that the melody plays out on the key lights and you follow it, and it comes in 3 levels of difficulty, so more lights will show as you hopefully get better at playing the tunes. Experience tells me though, and I think most music teachers agree, that it's not a good way to learn piano. So I won't go into the whole key lighting lesson system process because I've demonstrated that several times on YouTube and made a couple of videos as well expressing a bit more of an opinion about it and going into it in more depth. Anyway, that's the LK-35. Like I said, it doesn't show anything remarkable in its own right as a part of the LK series, but if you're new to the LK series, I think you'll switch it on and you'll enjoy it, because it has plenty of sounds that'll give a beginner a good intro to home keyboards and synthesizers, plenty of good rhythms, and a few good songs as well to play along with. Bear in mind, this is not one of the MIDI versions of this instrument. You've only got power in and headphones there, so no external controls available. It will, however, run on a set of AA batteries.